All right, let's talk how to use AI to sell businesses. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. I love, most of the time, folks that are subscribed on YouTube, you're going to get the notification so you can pop in. We can turn these into conversations. It's always fun. I don't really plan ahead. It's more like we're doing something, or I'm in a meeting, or I'm doing a call with somebody, and something comes up. For this one, we've got our second training on becoming a merger consultant, and I think I mentioned last time I'm going to be trying to split up some of these things. So if you haven't subscribed to the Solo Fund channel, over there we're going to be doing more fund type of content. Actually, I do want to talk about AI's impact on funds. So that'll be in the next. Probably, I really wanted to do that today, but this is also one that I wanted to get to. So we'll have the AI and its impact on funds, which is some really neat news for us that are doing kind of micro private equity funds. So let's talk selling a business and using AI to maximize price, speed up the process, and for us that are doing brokering merger specialist work or merger consultant work, being able to keep clients really, really happy. So the reason I wanted to go ahead and do this first is this video first is we've got our call coming up on the merger consulting training part two within the Patreon. And it's something that, I'm just talking about within Good Merger as well. So I wanted to give this kind of higher level overview. And obviously, in the training, we'll get into some nitty gritty. So you'll come to the training with your questions. All right. So let's start with just selling a business in general. When you think about selling a business, one of the things people take for granted is that it's a really, really big decision. I mean, obviously, it's a big decision financially. I was watching a Alex Hermosi interview, and he was talking about how, for his big sale ended up exiting, getting 40 million, but he felt poor, more poor, because he didn't have the income coming in every month, which is obviously just a psychological thing. But it's still one of those things where you've got to kind of prepare for that. And there are all these other emotional issues. So on the one end, you have the finances, you have all the emotions associated with the finances. And I've seen it. I have to coach the merger specialists and Good Merger through some of these things on the psychology behind these buyers. And we've had and have buyers right now where it's like sometimes they know they need to sell, and this is going to be a big thing as we get more and more baby boomers that are coming to the market. For a lot of that generation, somebody who's been working in a business for 30, 40 years, even 10 years, just a very emotional thing to let that business go. And sometimes it's, what am I going to do? So it's just what am I going to do when I get out of this? This is kind of my purpose. There's a whole thing of a lot of people, if they don't have a plan in retirement to stay active, they die quicker. So there's real things to deal with emotionally, physically, and financially. So it's just a complex thing. And I hear a lot of people compare it to selling a house. It's just no comparison whatsoever. A house can be a big financial exit. There can be some emotions tied up, but it just is nowhere near selling a business. And, just from the asset standpoint, because you've poured your energy into that business. Even if you built the house by hand from scratch and then you lived in it for 30 years, it's nowhere near the idea of being in a business 30 years and you've worked in that business every year. You have relationships with your employees, relationships with your clients, relationship with your suppliers. It's just so much more complex than really any other transaction. And one of the things that we see is, you have people that are looking to sell, and they really want as much information as possible when they're trying to make that decision, even if they're just a business owner that's exiting. On the other end, you have investors that are looking to sell a business or buy a business. And just traditionally, one of the things that we're trying to do with Good Merger is get beyond the fact that traditionally there's just been a ton of friction in buying and selling businesses on both sides. People don't really know what to expect, how the process should go, and keeping things very clear on both sides of the table. It's not trying to throw the wool over the eyes of the buyer, even when we're representing the seller, and it's vice versa. It's not the same, because when you can get as much information and as much clarity on both sides, it's what gets deals closed and keeps both sides very happy in the end. So, selling a business, we already talked about it. It can be a very huge decision. The goal is to make the process not as arduous as it's been in the past, and some of the things that we do on the back end is make the financing a lot easier. We want to almost bring to the table a done deal that works well for the buyer as well as works well for the seller. Now, enter AI. So, how in the world do we use AI to accomplish that goal? So, right now, we're really at the very beginning stages of AI and machine learning. And, it's one of those things that, I just hate that I almost hate that it is such a big deal, but it is a big deal. I wish it was something that you could just say, you were just going to ignore this, but it's just not. It just isn't. And so this is much different than things like that. I call out hype. And so I think, there's a lot of hype around social media and that kind of thing where people get really focused on that aspect of business, but it represents 3% of all business out there. I think AI is going to probably be the opposite. Eventually, it's going to be 97% of businesses that are impacted. So we have to be aware of that and start to use the tool. And the really exciting thing is it isn't like you have to start using it and there's not value. So how we're using it when it comes to selling or exiting a business is really pulling together as much information for that business owner and for the buyer as possible. And this is really exciting for some of you folks that are in the Patreon that are interested in that consulting, merger consulting for equity type of deal, because you can almost inundate the person with a lot of value when you're going and making the presentation, presenting info to potential buyers, coming up with the valuation and all of those different things. But let's take a look at what it is it can do now and talk about a little bit about the future. So what it is it can do now is it can help a business owner dig deep into the financials and prepare for due diligence. One of the tougher things, when you're doing deals that are larger businesses, the analysis of the financials is something that can get a buyer really, really complicated. I mean, we've got a deal right now. I won't say which person is representing it, but it's a couple $1 million deal, and there's just really the most simple version of finance. Then we have people that come to us even interested in selling business. They have 7-figure businesses, and they're using, I don't even want to say specifically, but they're just using very simple software, very simple things to file their taxes And it's like, no, like you need to go deeper. And and the really downside is if you got $1 million business and you've been doing that for 10 years, you definitely have thrown away a lot of money in taxes, because a CPA is going to be able to dig and figure out what are the things that you need to be taking advantage of. And the tax code is changing literally on an ongoing basis. But I digress. So with those business owners, one of the things that I love about AI is that it can take raw data. It can take raw data and it can start to put together a lot of amazing reports. It can put together graphs. It can put together analysis of like, hey, here are the things to point out. And when you hand over, like literally, we're at a point now where we can put together these booklets of information based on what's going on in the finances that would be the equivalent, maybe not the exact equivalent because there's not as much complexity, but for a small business, what we can offer is the equivalent of what a Goldman Sachs would offer a large business. And so this becomes a really powerful thing on two fronts. Number one, it can help you give a case. It helps us give a case for the valuation of the business. One of the issues in the industry in general is that there's a lot of brokers that will just lie. It's like, hey, what do you want to sell the business for? And the person's like, I'd like to sell the business for $3 million, and the thing's making like 200,000. But the broker is like, okay, like we can put it on the market for $3 million, whatever you want to put it on the market for, we can put it on the market, which is the truth. But what they don't say is the likelihood of this selling is slim to none. But a lot of times, we like to be the truth sayers, which can be a disadvantage a lot of times. So if we're coming in and we're saying, hey, no, we know the other broker told you 3 million. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like it's 600,000. They're like, what? No, like this other person told me 3 million. So guess who they're going to go with? They're going to go with that 3 million and then sit on the market. And then, we follow up and it's like, oh yeah, this is, and then really in a lot of cases, especially, I'm always telling our specialists, like keep up and build a relationship, because what that broker's trying to do is they get everybody else to get annoyed with the person and just walk away. And then once the person goes 6 months, like, oh, we're not getting off. It's like, oh, we need to drop this down to 1.2 million. And then like 3 more months go by. It's like, hey, we still getting, we got to pull this down to 600. And they've got that listing. And anybody who they've already built a relationship with for, typically a broker's gonna be like, dude, like you're crazy. You think you're gonna get 3 million? Like that's outrageous. And they just write them off. I understand that it's really not their fault. They don't understand M&A. They don't understand valuations. So one of the things that AI can help with is giving them a lot of different ways to look at the value of their business and generate tons of reports on, okay, here's one way to look at it. Here's why your business is only, okay, here's another way. Here's another way. And at the very least, still, the thing that I tell our specialists, like, we still want to make contact. We still want to keep contact. We still want to keep the relationship. It's like, all right, we'll let you go to this other person. We want to stay in touch, see what it actually sells for. Because hey, if they do sell it for 3 million, we want to become an understudy for these other folks. And it never happens, but we want to keep in touch with those folks. But AI becomes this amazing tool in generating these really cool valuations that go a little bit deeper than the work. And here is where it's just so beautiful. This is why I'm so adamant about with a good merger, like the opportunity that's growing there with the folks in the Patreon that are just doing it on their own, becoming merger consultants. The thing that I'm so excited about is that it's like having a team of analysts. Like you can literally generate JP Morgan level reports about a small business. And it's pennies. It's just unbelievable. And it's really cool right now because very few people are leveraging it this way. And so you can really impress these businesses when you're going in. Now, this is also something to keep in mind for you buyers as well. Now AI becomes a negotiation tool. AI becomes something that you can use to make the case for why you want to do a deal structure. Next, speaking of deal structure, AI is something that's really cool to have discussions with about potential deal structures. And you can actually, it will do financial models and generate these models for you that you can then take and put into spreadsheets. And you can come up with these different scenarios. All right, if I take on the SBA debt and I've got this interest rate, if I do this seller financing and I'm doing it at this rate, if I pay down this amount versus this other amount, if I give equity to this other person who's going to invest, what does that look like 5 years from now when I exit? All of these things. It's really, really beautiful. Now, when it comes to analyzing the business's financial data, obviously, it's up to us to give the prompts. And so the better you get at giving those prompts, the better the reports are going to be when they come out. I think at some point, you have this auto GPT thing where some of you may have heard about, but I think in the future, will be able to suggest the prompts. And you just say, hey, here's the goal. I'm trying to buy this business. What are all the things that I could do with you, AI, to generate reports that will help me? And here's kind of the scenario. And so we're not there yet. You have to understand how to generate these prompts. But I think one day it's going to be even crazier than where it is right now. So next, that's on the financial data. Next is identifying potential buyers. So, you're putting in putting in all of the data around the potential buyers that you think of and details on the business. And then it comes up with scenarios. And then one of the things that we're always doing as specialists is we're trying to creatively make a case to these other businesses as to why they want to merge with the client. And then the other way around, we have clients that are buyers. We have clients that are in the acquisition holding program. And all of those folks are we can basically, it can generate ideas on the benefits of specific types of structures and ways that we can present to the buyer or to the seller on how they should be thinking about integrating that business to maximize the value that they get out of it. Now, we talked a little bit about price and pricing the business accurately. But one of the things that I love is just how in depth you can get with AI or machine learning with algorithms. So in addition to just coming up with the valuation, it can also, for the buyer, get them comfortable. I've told you before, one of the things that I love to do with a buyer isn't try to hide things. I like to show the warts, be clear with the warts, but also give solutions so that they know, like, hey, I'm not here to hide something. I'm here to show you the value, and I'm here to show you the downsides, because with all of this stuff, there is risk. It kills me the number of people, and this just isn't, you don't make as much money. I love that, I make more money from deals than trying to train people or work with people or any of that on the program side of things. And so, there are a lot of folks that they're really making money off of the education, not off of doing deals. And so there's this very rosy picture that these things have no risk, but that's why diversification is key. It's why I preach the mini conglomerate if you're not going to do a fund and all these different things. But this becomes something that's really powerful to do with the buyer, is generate all of these potential issues based on the information that you put into the AI to generate use algos to generate those potential bad outcomes and on the financial side, and then business cases and case studies around what could be some things outside of the finances that might be issues. Now, I talked a little bit about identifying the buyers. The other thing is it can find out some information about the buyers and their financial information. So just, kind of whatever is out there, being able to pull in what's going on with that business financially, if they've been in, if they've had, if obviously they're public, but also if they've been in any articles or had anything that was related to their finances come out publicly, and then they can pull in that information for it, so you can know, hey, is this financially the right target? And you don't have to go trying to search out that information. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. I wanted to come get y'all thinking about the fact that this is just an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool for us with Good Merger. It's an amazing tool for the Patreoners. Be sure to check out Patreon. We got some really cool information in there, whether it's interest in growing income through the selling of stock options, which we've been, I've been sharing some of the trades that I'm doing within companies, or these kind of strategies that you could be using. We've got our training coming up next week, I believe, on the merger consulting for equity 2 Deuce. So definitely check that out. Or if you're a business buyer, you could be leveraging this stuff. And if you are selling a business right now, you can be leveraging this. So there's a lot of ways to use this. Those are some of the ways we are using it. Hopefully this was helpful. And we'll take a couple of comments. Sigma Enigma, what is up? I love it. Says, greetings, Ace. We're in Palm Springs this weekend. You're right. And there's a lot of action going on. He's prospecting over at Coachella. I love it. I love it. And then we got James Hunter. Yes, indeed. They understand the process. All right, everybody, have a lovely rest of your weekend. Be sure to like the video. Give me a comment. Say hello. Talk to y'all soon.